it's a world, it's an adventuring world with magic, and you own slaves. So as you're slowly becoming the slave expert, through all your other anime watching now, Nick,
Mm.
um, it's okay to have a harem if they're slaves. Hello, and welcome back to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about shows, anime, games, a little bit of everything between. I'm your host today, Joe, and with me, the guy who believes in burning the candle at the top, bottom, and in the middle, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. It's most people just burn it at one end. Some people burn it at both ends, but only pro level gamers burn it at all three ends. And yes, there are three ends. You do have to usually cut out a little bit of the wax in the middle to get to the wick, or to get to I guess it would be the wick. I know a lot about candles. It shows, I know, and that's just the fastest way to get through it. Just burn it all, just flamethrower it, and you're done. And anyway, that's what I like to do. I'm doing good tonight, Joe.
So
How are
burn it
you?
all. Words of wisdom from Nick,
Burn
the
it all
arsonist.
down. Burn it all down. Okay.
We can rebuild from the ashes. All right.
See what,
So rebuilding from the ashes of this opening.
like
All
we
right,
we
we
used to say in college. We used to say, "Burn it all down and see what rises from the ashes."
all right. So another Dead Pixel. This today is the 15th of July. This will probably post up on the 16th, Saturday. And
We
this is
hope.
episode 22. So, yeah, how you been doing, man? How was your fourth?
Good. Um, it was good. I went to a 4th of July party barbecue, at somebody's apartment in downtown Austin, and it was cool. But I had um, a really stuffed up nose toward the end, and I just couldn't breathe. And I was like, we were just waiting for the fireworks to start. They said they were going to start at like 8:30. They lied. Sun wasn't even. It wasn't even dark at 8:30. And then it was like 9, and it didn't start till 9:30 when it was actually finally fully dark. And then fireworks were cool, and I was on a roof, and it was like, okay, this is really cool, but I just couldn't really enjoy them because my nose was all stopped up. And so as soon as the fireworks were done, I was like, thank you to the host, and I got the hell out of there. And then I got in the car and turned onto a street that was busy, but I thought, oh, I can go down the street and turn right and then get on the highway. No, they blocked off every side street. And so I was just stuck in this vortex of hell, and I had to go straight across a bridge, and then finally turn right and then loop around and get on a highway. But I was like, if I had literally gone, I could have gone all the way around the city, and I would have gotten home probably 30 minutes sooner than I actually did. It took forever. I was like, I mean, it was busy, but I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? Like, why are you shutting down the streets? I don't understand. It's like it was. I mean, there's like a stadium there nearby, so I guess that's why people were at the stadium watching fireworks. I don't know. Anyway, so my fourth was cool until it was very frustrating. How was your 4th of July, Joe?
It was all right. So unfortunately, we had some storms coming in, and so what happened was the a lot of local, like, smaller towns were canceling their fireworks, and what they did is they all came to our place, and
Mm,
then they also upped the fireworks time by about half an hour. So usually, what would happen is we would have, like, last couple of years, we've had our kids outside, and we can see them from our front yard. We just go to the end of our driveway and look over our neighbor's house, and you can see them pretty decent size. So it was, and you can hear them and feel them for sure. So that's usually what we do. But
that's cool.
our kids passed out early, put them in the bedroom, and we have a sound machine. So white noise machine
Mm.
essentially, and they slept through the whole darn thing. Uh,
That's actually really cool. I've always been partial to this is not a race thing, but I've always been partial to brown noise. Have you ever heard of brown noise?
yeah, you like to feel the warm fuzzies from below?
So I'll ignore that statement and continue right on. So white noise is kind of sharp on the ears. It's like the first thing you think of, but it's kind of the pitch on it is kind of high. But brown noise is a much lower pitch, so it's a little bit easier on the ears. And I feel like I don't know, maybe it's just that it just feels better, but I feel like it drowns out sound better too. Anyway, so whenever I like need to drown out sound, like if I'm on a plane and I was like, I'm just gonna get some sleep, I'll turn on that brown noise, and that's the ticket. Anyway,
Well, just make sure you don't hit the brown note, app on your phone. So, okay, then we have here. That's a South Park reference from a long time ago.
I
Uh,
didn't watch much South Park. I watched some, but not
you
much.
probably were allowed to. Uh,
I definitely wasn't allowed to, but I definitely did a lot of that anyway. Because, gosh, I remember seeing South Park for the first time and just being like, I think I was like in fifth grade, and just being like, man, this is brutal. Anyway,
so you mentioning how the streets were shut down, and when you were trying to go through your city, one of the uh, we were in Tokyo for just a summertime vacation, and we happened to check up. We're like, oh, sweet, there's a fireworks festival going on the east side, and I'm trying to remember what river it goes down, but essentially, they end up closing the. I think it's the like Sumida River,
okay.
or it's around there. Anyways, it's one of the major rivers on the east side, and they close off all the roads and stuff like that. So we happened to be there during this fireworks festival. We're like, yeah, let's go check this out, and we didn't realize how much they did for it. But all the main roads were closed. You so it reminded you of like a zombie apocalypse, just walking down the center of the street, just
Uh,
hordes of people walking, and people just vendors selling beers and other things just right like so right in the middle of the road. So we stayed in the middle of a five-way intersection, took a group photo. Just to my wife and a friend of ours, we just ended up going and having a good time. It was around I think the very north point was Asakusa, which is the temple with the big lantern in the center that you see in a lot of the postcards.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
that was
Okay.
like the northern peak, and it went all the way south. And it was funny because everyone was like, the riverside was where the fireworks can be seen, and then as you're walking down the road, you could see all the people just hoarded between the buildings because that's like the little sliver of light. You can see everyone's like just smushed together, and then
Mm,
you would actually be able to see the fireworks better if you looked at the reflection on the buildings across the street. So it was just kind of funny. It's just like everyone's like, "Oh, I want to see the fireworks," and they're all smushing together. We're like, "All right, that's cool. Let's just keep on going." And we ended up stopping by like a convenient, getting like a six pack of beer and a six pack of like little mini wine cooler thing, like wine bottles.
mm.
And so yeah, we just got really hammered as we went down the street and just picked up a lot of street food, and it was like one of my best memories of Tokyo.
Dude, getting drunk and eating street food is just one of the best pastimes of ever. Um, it is so much fun when you're like, man, I'm so drunk and I'm so hungry. I just want some meat on a stick, man. And that's great. Isn't Hanabi in like the summertime?
Hanabi is fireworks.
I thought there was like a day that they never mind. I'm talking about I know
We just
Hanabi's
had
I know Hanabi is
you're talking
fireworks, but I thought there was like a day that they called that too.
I know there's Bon Odori, which is Obon festival, and we just did what was it? We just had Setsubon, the bamboo festival.
Oh yeah.
That's 7-3? I think that's 7-3, but that's when you make the wishes and you time to the bamboo, for Hikiboshi, and I can't remember the other one, but the
Okay.
2 lovers, star-crossed lovers.
Uh,
But yeah, that happens early July. So
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
yeah. they, but we had, like I said, around here it was a good time, and but just remember, just reminding me of how streets are closed down, and like that's my mind goes straight to that whenever I see like a massive parade or festival or something like that, like stateside when they start closing down roads. I'm
Yeah.
like, I just love the idea of walking down a road that should be occupied by cars, and you're like, yes, like we own this right now. This is our turf.
We have
Uh,
reclaimed the city.
so, all right, but yeah, outside of that, yeah, not much going on in my neck of the woods. So, all right, I'll let you take it away with the news, though.
Yeah, not a whole ton of news this period. I feel like there's a couple more things that I saw that maybe a little bit more dated, like from last week, that I might have wanted to put on, but I forgot what they were. But first up, we've got Final Fantasy 16 did away with turn-based combat to appeal to younger generations. This is what a producer is saying. Um, anyway, so I mean, it's not really surprising. I don't really remember if Final Fantasy 15 had turn-based combat, and Final Fantasy 7 remake. I think that had both. Maybe
You
that's what they're
could
referring
you
to.
could toggle it, but more or less it was fairly fluid. I felt it was closer to active combat.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was made to be played real time, um, or like real time action combat. I mean, so like I pulled the story because I kind of have some opinions about it. Like there's like a romanticism now with turn based combat. At least for me, it's like, yeah, I would like the combat to be turn based, or part of me would like that. But these games nowadays with tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars spent on these games, they the turn based combat is really too simple for the amount of money that they're planning to spend on it. And yeah, they could throw it in different places, but it's an old style. And there's so many games now from like lower level studios, indie studios that can really take up that turn based style and do different things with it and make it interesting because it's cheaper to do that. That I think I'm fine with. I think I'm fine with Final Fantasy 16 going like, okay, I know it's our heritage, but we gotta do away with it. Anyway, so I was just wondering what you thought about that.
I didn't really see this as a surprise at all. I just assumed it was gonna be, uh,
Yeah,
this way because more or less because, they've been pushing this for a long time. I mean, I think was it 13 was the last real turn-based that I can remember from them.
13 really wasn't
Uh,
even. I guess it could be turn based, but it wasn't. I didn't play it that way.
yeah, but that was the last big, like, thing that came to my mind, and but they've been pushing for, a more active and, real time, like, or, for a while, and you can tell the fact that Kingdom Hearts, then they wanted to make it more like that, and that's why they did the, 7 remake that way, and I'm like, it's fine. Don't really I'm not really a big fan of it because I don't like to try to learn, like, the new implementation, so I find whatever groove works for me, and I didn't really dive super deep into, the 7 remake. I beat the game, but I didn't really dive too deep into the combat system.
Yeah.
Some people just went head over heels for it, and other people just absolutely hated it, but I'm like,
There's really not much to it, honestly. Like the original Final Fantasy VII combat system, and I mean I haven't played it in a long time. The original Final Fantasy VII combat system was more in depth, more complicated, and honestly more satisfying. What they did with the remake, and I played like 30 hours of that game. I didn't finish it, but I played like 30 hours of it, and it's good and it's okay, but it really could have been more. I think.
so for me, it was, the original, like, the most exciting combat I remember ever coming across was, uh the Secret series, Secret of Mana, Secret Evermore,
People love those,
or the
yeah.
Tales, like the Tales game, like Tales of Fantasia. Um, so like those, Secret of Mana was a 3-player co-op RPG, action RPG. I liked it because you can send up like a healing item to somebody, and as your party member got downed, since you already activated that healing item will take effect even after they've been knocked out. So you would actually be able to not have to like you're not wasting the item. Plus, you don't have to use a specific like whatever like the Phoenix Down equivalent is in that game, which I can't remember what it is anymore. But it was nice because you had it lined up and you could do that, or the that was the closest to an actual active combat back then, or the Tales games, Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Destiny, and Tales of Destiny was just running back and forth, and you can switch party members and cast, and and that was really neat because it was something novel. But as games get more complex, you have to get more accustomed to doing like the 3D space, and that's fine. I can handle that no problem. But at the same time, it's each game tries to do something innovative, and it's like even turn based got like messy in situations with Final Fantasy series. I was not a big fan of the whole magic system in Final Fantasy VIII. The
Mm,
summoning, the having
the
to
like
extract your
drawing.
yeah, drawing, I thought that was just a bunch of crap. I
That's
really do
boring.
not like
Yeah.
yeah, so it was not a good experience for me. Though one of my favorites is Final Fantasy VII's magic system with the materia, because that way anyone you can just load out anyone you want, any way you want them. I was not really a fan originally of the sphere system in 10.
Hmm.
Their leveling system, like that was not my idea of a fun time. So, I kind of started falling away from the Final Fantasy series as they progressed further. But yeah, just to see this come, like I don't really see anyone as a big this being a big surprise to anyone. Like, did people honestly think they were just going to be back to the old turn base? Because
Yeah.
people are even getting mad at Pokemon, because like they want Pokemon to like, especially after the new was it Arceus came out, because it's that one's
Arceus or something. Yeah.
yeah. So you're able to run around free space, you can see the Pokemon in the live world, and it's not the traditional Pokemon, but, like, if you go to the most recent one they came out with, it's still, like, they don't have proper animations for attacking, it's still them just, like, kinda wiggling a little bit and, like, they did, Tail Whip or something like that. Uh, and so hopefully the new Pokemon game when it comes out, it'll have, uh ideally, you'd be able to see them out in the field, uh, and if you do have turn-based, you'll actually have animations for the, proper animations, and that would be
Yeah.
nice, but
Yeah. Those
I
games are
don't know.
kind of confusing to me because they look pretty low poly. There's not a lot going on. It's like the one thing that those games have to do to me is, animate the characters. Every time I look at a Pokemon game, I'm like, this looks like shit. I'm sorry, this
And they
looks.
still use a lot of them still use the old sound bites from, like, the original GBA the GBA, the actual Game Boy, for some of the original Pokemon, like, you can update the sound effects, man, you can make them sound, you know, more flushed.
And it's like
They have
those.
the money.
I mean, I guess those games I would think sell a lot, so I would think they would put a lot more money in. But I guess if it's selling really well, then there's no reason to do much more to make it better. But at the same time, I don't know. That's a weird catch 22 to me. But yeah, yeah, man. Final Fantasy, the turn-based system, I think it's a little bit of an antiquated thing, and it's something that can be left to smaller studios to take advantage of. But yeah, man, the like I think it's good. I think it's time probably that they moved on from it and did something different. Like you're saying, Final Fantasy X, like the sphere grid system is to me probably the best part of Final Fantasy X. Um, I think that they ran into. I think that the problem with the sphere grid system was that it pigeonholed um, each character. And yeah, you could go anywhere mostly with most of the characters, but it's like um if you go like I don't know, like tank with like Riku, it's like that's not what she's you have to go up out of the way and you waste a lot of time. If you don't do what they're supposed to do, Like Lulu, if you didn't go black magic user with her, then it's like you're grinding so much more, you're wasting time, and it's irritating. And Yuna was the only one who could summon, so she was the only one who could really be like the everything character. I think that it would have made more sense to make everybody able to do stuff, though that would kind of conflict with the story. But it'd make it more fun for everybody to be able to do everything. Just start them in different sections of the grid. I could kind of get that, but I don't know.
Or just make them into their dedicated, classes. I mean, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
as glamorous, but guess what? There's a role that people have to play, and sometimes one person has to be a flippin' tank, and the other one has to be the healer. I mean, that's just how it is.
And that's kind of the
Um,
thing that they were trying to trick you into thinking that it didn't have to be that way. Oh, you got the sphere grid, you can move anywhere you want. Yeah, but you kind of can't. Like you can, but you're just gonna annoy yourself by doing that.
yeah, if you didn't want, yeah, and that's for someone like me who'd prefer to min max. That's
Fucking
that
min
game.
maxer.
I mean, I don't go through the extra levels. Like Pokemon. I won't do some of the TM training or whatever leveling and shit. I won't do that. But I would still rather it's just like why waste your time doing a bunch of stuff. But then again, when it comes to a strategy game, like I will mentally like this is how I have to build my base or my whatever. It's just like this is the way it needs to be done.
I just thought of a really good joke. If we ever make a game, I want to make it so there's a pretty obvious like two or three ways to min max. But if you do that, then it triggers the bosses and the enemies to min max as well. And then you just get like trash canned toward the end of the game. You just spent all this time and you just get completely destroyed. Um, I think that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's essentially having enemies scale to you has always been a bad thing. I mean, that's how Oblivion you'd find yourself in, like I leveled up really hard because I'm used to grinding in other RPGs, and now I have to do an actual story quest. Wait a minute, you want me to escort this person? That's fine. Oh wait, like all my enemies are up leveled, but my escort it
It's
like they're that's low level? Shit.
They forgot.
I'm
Yeah,
never
they're
getting this
still
thing
like
done.
level 5 or whatever because they get hit one time and they're gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is bad. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to
I'm
have.
glad that, like, that phase of early 360 era died out because that was annoying. I mean, even the original BioShock, I think they did that with some of their things. They
Yeah,
leveled them up that way.
yeah. So anyway, that's kind of. I think we've kind of gotten to that enough. It's not like a big story, but I thought it was kind of interesting. The other thing is that I thought was interesting coming from Kotaku. This one, the Dark Souls lore is being released in 2 books. I read a little bit of this article. There's a guy who got really into Dark Souls, as many people have, and he played through it a bunch and then wrote down all the lore that he discovered and put it in these really large volumes. Let me get over to it real quick. That's the wrong one. It's a really nice set of books, and they've done a really good job of making like just really nice layouts of the pages and stuff like that. There's also a map that comes with it, and then but it is pricey. Looking at the basic edition being $180 USD and euro, and then there's a limited edition featuring a clamshell box instead of a slide out shell, and that costs 250 thereabout. And then there's a benefactor edition. This is where it gets kind of swindly, but the benefactor edition is the same as the limited edition, except it has your name in the back of the book. So the limited edition is 250, but the one with your name in the back of the book is 495.
Okay, it's it's like a kickstart thing. I
Yeah.
mean, I know people who've kickstarted games and gone to, like, it's an indie game, and they'll go for the $100 tier just to have their names in the credits. Um,
Yeah.
it's it's a fun thing to have your name legendarily, like, printed or whatever. It's common in that space, and I'm like, "You know what? If you have the money to burn and you wanna be immortalized that way, so be it." I mean, it's your
Immortalized.
money to do with what you want.
Nobody's gonna remember that stuff.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
especially since it's gonna be in a swad of, like, text of being like, "Yeah, these are the people, thanks for backing me."
that
And
you
I'm like,
never look
but
at. No one has ever looked at that. That's one of the things. Like, if we ever started a Patreon, I would be like, I'm not gonna put your name. I mean, I might put your name in the credits, but I'm not gonna make you pay for it because nobody ever looks at that. I've never looked at one of those for more than 3 seconds, and I don't remember any name I've ever seen in one of
I
those.
look at them when it's, like, when people come up with clever, like, handles, not their names, but,
Uh,
like, if it's their usernames and stuff like that, then you can find some funny stuff out there, but it's usually, like, I prefer it rolling while they're talking,
yeah,
so at least you can pay attention if you want to, and then you're like, "Wait, did I just see what I thought I" then you rewind it, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, that was pretty clever."
yeah, like
Um
Cupcake Vampire or something weird like that is, or funny ones are pretty good. There's one podcast I used to listen to called, I think it might have been, I can't remember which one it was, but there was a guy named a werewolf, like a werewolf or a werewolf. Anyway, it was just all jammed together. And I thought that was pretty clever because it made me think really hard.
That's pretty funny, alright. Yeah, no, it's, like, clever things like that. I'm all for that, being displayed. But yeah, once again, it's just a personal thing. If you want your name and if you are a fan of something, some people just wanna be associated, like, "Hey, this is me," and, like, it's, like, once again, it's your money, you do what you want, and, it's who's who am I to stop you? Now if it
Yeah.
was, you know, uh now if you made it like no, if I don't know, some of the stuff they used to do for high-end, uh, collector's editions, that some of the stuff used to be pretty scammy for a while,
Mm.
uh, but I
A
mean, like,
Fallout
yeah, it's
76 collector's edition with a nylon bag that was supposed to be canvas.
yeah, that was, Fallout 4, or wasn't it? No, it was the 76.
I
Yes,
think it
that,
was 76, yeah.
yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, go
I mean,
ahead.
I think the last collector's edition I bought was that BioShock one, because I wasn't even I had 0 interest in BioShock, just full stop, I didn't care at all, and then, I remember it's like the guys came in for their pre-orders, I opened the box, I knew almost nothing about the game, and I saw the figure and I'm like, we had a couple spare collector's editions because some people didn't pick up their, pre-orders, and I'm like, "Alright, I'm buying it." I'm just buying this, like, straight up, but it wasn't that much more expensive. It wasn't even like $100. I think it was maybe like 80 bucks or something. Um, so I was just like, yeah, it wasn't too much more, and, it was a pretty cool, like, Big Daddy figurine with the drill, and I'm like, "Alright, sweet."
Yeah,
I
that's
almost bought the Nathan Drake, like, Uncharted 3 collector's edition. Came with a statue of him, and I'm like,
yeah.
statue came with a replica ring that he wears. I'm like, "Oh, I kinda want that." But I was in Korea, and I'm like, "I would have to move that back
Mm.
overseas. That ain't happening."
Yeah, that's kind of where I draw the line is like if you're going to give me something physical that's not like literally a sheet of paper, if you're going to give me something that's like a figurine or a banner or a poster even, um I'm definitely way more inclined to buy it, especially if it's limited. It's like, okay, this is going to be, I mean, I'm overpaying for it, sure, but they're not going to make any more. Um, and I've got this thing kind of in my like trophy case or whatever for forever. So it's like, okay, I'll pay a little bit more. I'll pay a little bit more than makes sense in order to kind of get this. If I like what is, going on here. Um, if it's more than just like a passing interest or whatever. Um,
Yeah, I think the Call of Duty has kinda killed the collector's editions for most people, because they started upping the ante every year, trying to get more and more ridiculous, and eventually people just had enough. I mean, because it started with was it the night vision goggles? That kinda worked,
yeah,
and then, I think there was, like, an RC car, there was probably, I think, a drone as well.
yeah.
but yeah, I forget. They just kept on getting upping it more and more, and people were just like, "I'm done," and that kind of, killed most of it. I mean, I used to love collector's editions for the old PS1 games, so I got Lunar Silver Star Story that came with a cloth map. It came with the
Mm,
soundtrack, came with like I think some collector cards and some other little trinkets, and but yeah, that cloth map was pretty dope.
yeah,
It made it feel like an old like D&D type of thing or something like that. I was like, "Oh, this is really, like, neat."
cloth
So,
maps are definitely really cool. Yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of it for the kind of main stories. There's a couple other little stories I wanted to mention. Bayonetta 3 finally got a release date, October 28th, just in time for Halloween. So that's a pretty good day to release that. I feel like it makes sense. I figured it's gonna come out this fall, but I was getting kind of nervous and thinking it might slip to next year. But Nintendo doesn't have a whole lot coming out for the fall, with pushing out Zelda again, and then I don't know. There's just not a whole lot coming out for them, so I'm glad that they were able to keep it on. Um, then a couple other things. Halo Infinite campaign co-op launches in public testing. I think that's just now today on July 15th. So I think it'd be cool if you and I could play that, because I know there hasn't been co-op so far, but I played a little bit of Halo Infinite back when it came out last year, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I think it'd be fun to play co-op too.
yeah, I didn't think it was public testing, yet. But I know I heard, Digital Foundry talking about it and how they had to sign up for the beta, or they had to, to get into it. So, if it's public now, that would be great. I'd like to give it a shot because I've avoided playing the campaign solely for the fact that I wanna play, um, co-op. That's how I played like, ever since, Halo 2.
Yeah,
It's a co-op game for me.
yeah, a lot of. I mean, I remember a lot of people playing that game co-op. If not their very first playthrough, then like their second, third, and fourth playthrough, playing with their brothers or their friends or whatever. So yeah, that game, it is kind of weird that they didn't launch with that co-op, but I guess they just had to get all hands on deck and get out the game in general. But it's sort of weird. It's like, how hard is it to do co-op? I guess it's harder than I think. I don't know.
Oh, well, you gotta remember, they originally were gonna launch the game, then because of the backlash between the fidelity of the game, because it looked really bad,
Uh,
they actually ended up pushing it back, like, a full year,
yeah, they did.
and so then they had to release something, so they released I thought they just released the online first and then the campaign at second, but they had to make money on something, and, they had to get people interested. They couldn't just, uh and that's why at least some of the transactions and stuff like that. So it's I still have Game Pass. I'm covered. I'm all right with it. You know.
It'll be there when you're ready to play it, or when they're ready for you to play it finally. Yeah, it is a cool game. I didn't get to play as much of it as I kind of wanted to, but going through that co-op, I definitely would play a lot more. So then the other thing, this is sort of a non-story. The Fall Guys, the game Fall Guys was had a weird error where they were forcing players to auto buy items, um, and then these same players were being denied refunds. But that's kind of the clickbaity article. The real story is not quite that bad. It's just a bug that was causing people to buy um, these things, and then I guess they immediately tried to get refunds, and then it was like blocking them or something. But they issued, a response saying, "Hey, we're working on this. We stopped the bleeding, and we're gonna work on getting everybody their money back. Who was affected by it. So, and it was like all the same day. So, not, so it was not that big of a deal. But I haven't heard of that happening before. A game forcing auto buys. That's kind of scary. I think it was just spending in-game currency that they had already bought. Um, but still, that's kind of like, dang, my fake money that I already spent money on is going away. Anyway,
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, it would suck to, to be to lose what you have. I mean, so, I don't know, I have not seen much of Fall Guys since the original, like, debut, and then I know recently they've been making a push, doing a lot more, ads and such, so, apparently it's still going strong, I guess, so.
yeah, I have no idea about the game. I'm sure it's fine or whatever if you like to play that. But anyway, nothing about it has ever caught my eye. But anyway, so that's pretty much it for the news. And then yeah,
Alright. So, alright then, alright, let's get back to what we've actually been playing. So I know recently, you and I got a chance to play an older title. We got around to playing some Far Cry 5.
yes,
That dropped to Game Pass, and uh, I've mentioned it before. I skipped that one, mostly because I just didn't want to buy it, and I just haven't bothered having getting around to it. And after playing six and being, I put like 20 hours into six, and
mm,
I was super angry about my time with that game. Um, yeah, it felt like a waste, but I really did like, 3 and 4. Those were, like, peak games, so it's like, getting to play this, co-op, we spent a couple nights, we, played around for a while, and so I wanted to get your opinions because this was your first Far Cry game so far, right?
yeah. First one that I've actually put a little bit of time into. I touched three, I think, or Blood Dragon, something back in the day. But yeah, this is about kind of what I was expecting. Sort of a checkbox game where you're kind of just going around doing stuff. I really wasn't having very much fun the first couple hours that we played, but that last session that we did, I'd kind of gotten some upgrades. I'd gotten some choices on weapons, and I kind of knew sort of the lay of the land and how different vehicles operated a bit better. I started to have a lot more fun. Like we were doing a lot more missions, a lot faster. Just going in there, wrecking house. There's a lot more funny stuff that was happening because we were able to do it. We kind of had our, um, our wits about us, and anyway, it just ended up being more fun. It's a good game, kind of a good like a mayhem game, like a moose and animals will just always run out and hit you. And it's like the animals don't act that way, but it does create some nice, funny chaos moments. So I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought that I would in that last session. But yeah, I mean, I'll keep playing with you, but I'm not gonna go play it on my own. It's not that good. I'm not into that kind of game, but it is fun as a co-op thing.
Yeah, I find the story to be pretty weak as far as,
Oh yeah, the
these
story's just
campaigns go.
whatever.
I really well, the thing is, 3 and 4 were ridiculous. 3, you start out as a bunch of essentially, like, college, dude bros, in Thailand on vacation, and it's like you're just at a club and some guy's like, "Yeah, if you wanna do some skydiving, I know a place." And so you guys skydive and then you end up landing on, like, a deserted island, uh, and then it turns out, like, the island is run by, a drug lord, uh, so,
It's like the
all your
beach.
buddies get captured, and you manage to escape, and then it's just you trying to free your dude bros, and you're like, the main, protagonist is Jason Brody. Uh, I still remember his name. Yeah, it was such a it was such a, like, I don't care about what happens to you or your companions type of game, but it was also trying to play the concept of, that and the Tomb Raider game came out, and they both were like, "Oh my god, I just murdered somebody," and, like, 15 minutes later, you're like, "I'm slitting everyone's throats, and I don't my character no longer cares."
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, like the first time or two you kill someone, they're like, "Oh no, it's such a tragedy or such it's just messed up, man." And then afterwards, they're like, "Yeah, no, this is just like
Just
breathing."
like spraying people.
Yeah. So it was, but Far Cry 3 was, uh tremendously stupid as far as, like, the animal attacks, and it was hilarious because you just you go ahead and you kill some guys, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like, you realize you're being chased by a tiger, so you're just hoofing it, and then by the time you're like, next thing you know, as you're running through the field, this, like, alligator starts chomping at you while the tiger's chasing you, like, "Son of a gun." And that's like or they had I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a giant ostrich bird that starts with a C, and it's just hyper aggressive, and it's one of those things that, like, "Is this a real bird?" And you Google it, and you find the wiki page, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, this is a stupidly mean bird."
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
uh, but those games had you hunt for upgrades
Yeah.
and kinda work your way up the ladder. You had to in order to do, like, death from above or to do stealth kills from, like, the water, you had to upgrade yourself, like, skill tree-wise. And then as, like, 5 and 6, they just kinda give you a lot of that stuff straight out. They try to it's which is fine, but they also don't since you're not earning that skill, you're not getting that tutorial of how that skill works. So it's kinda, like, meant for players who've already played the series, like, "Okay, so they're just giving this to me so I can just do it," but if no one's ever telling you really how to do these things, those are abilities that are kinda getting wasted, and
Yeah.
you forget about them. 'Em. You're like, "Oh, yeah, I forget I can jump from a roof and just murder these people or chain a couple, takedowns together." But you had to earn all that stuff slowly in the original, and Far Cry 4 had Pagan Min, one of the best, crazy, you know, characters you ever had to go against, and he was super fun as your antagonist in that one. And that one let you do that. They really advertised the wackiness of going in hot, being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna strap explosives to this Jeep, roll it in through a camp, and then detonate, and just let mayhem go wild." And that also had a partial co-op, as well, and so that was nice. I played a little bit with a buddy of mine, but that game I actually straight up platinumed. I liked Far Cry 4 a bunch. So, yeah, then
Yeah, I think
Far
that was kind of like the height of the series. Far Cry 4 was good, and it was riding off of the hype of 3. People really liked that
I think Primal
aspect of
came
it.
out in between, but most people quickly forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think Primal came out after 4,
Yeah, I think
because,
so.
Blood Dragon was in between
And 4.
3 and 4, and Blood Dragon was amazing. I like it. It's such a stupid short, game. Rex Power Cult, I think that was his name on that one.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, voiced by I can't remember his name, the guy who did, Terminator, he was n the main hero in that one, Kyle Reed. He's also the colonial marine who survives in Aliens.
Uh
Um, so yeah, it's voiced by him as your main character, and they really did some stupid tongue in cheek stuff. Instead of throwing stones, you're throwing D20, and as you're getting all the tutorial pops up, he's like, "Oh God, okay, yeah, I get it." It's like, "No, just stop and leave me alone." As you're smashing X through all the pop ups,
That's funny.
um,
Yeah, that game
yeah,
was very self-aware, and I played a little bit of it. That was it was really funny. Yeah, the Far Cry series, it's good. It was good. I think that it's sort of just kind of repeating itself now, and they don't really have a lot to. They've chickened out twice on something to say. Um, it's just sort of it's just kind of irritating. But the actual gameplay is not bad. Shooting's not too bad. And you kind of get to do some wild, crazy stuff. So it's pretty fun. I just wish they would maybe have a bit more balls and try to say something or add something new to their thing.
yeah. I mean, I think that was the thing is their messaging on 5 was supposed to be on the heels of the whole militia stuff, and then like being based in America, and like they made it a very serious tonal like beginning, and I think that was the E3 where they had everyone go into a church, like a mock-up church and stuff like that. They really like, pushed, and then they're like, "Oh, we're actually not anything political, we're not trying to say anything," then they're like the next trailer they had came out was like, "Here's some wacky mayhem," and, like, you might as well have thrown Benny Hill to that trailer,
Yeah.
um, and it's like, as far as, playing with friends, I like, ideally, if I play this solo, I will always go in stealthy, but it's so hard to do stealthy with a friend, and so it's almost always better just to go in hot.
I
And then we
definitely
learned
always fuck up.
I I I always learned playing with you, I'm like, "Okay, so long as we can take out the alarms, then it doesn't matter how hot we go, we can murder our way to success." And then, that's fine. It's perfectly viable strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game has a lot of a lot of fun randomness. Like, we're just going to an objective, ran through a town. Turns out the town was being occupied, so we just jump out of our vehicle mid mission and just re-seize the town. And we're like, "Oh, wait, that wasn't our objective. Okay, let's keep on going down the road to our actual objective." So,
Yeah, surprise fun
uh,
is the name of the game for that.
yeah, I mean, it's alright. I like 5 better than 6, already. Maybe I would like 6 better if I ended up playing with you with that one as well, but something tells me I still probably wouldn't. It's just that map seemed way too big. I know they're doing some DLC for Stranger Things tie-in.
Mm.
I have no clue what anything about. I just recently saw an ad for it. I'm like, "I don't know how you're gonna do that, but okay." Just, like, good for you, I guess. Um so, yeah, anyways, Far Cry 5, if you ever wanted to try it, it's on Game Pass, and it's a good time, when you're playing with a buddy for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what else have you been playing, man?
So for me, I actually went to a board game meetup last night. There is a little board game shop right down the road from me. They meet on Thursday nights. So I went over there. There weren't too many people there, but I was new, so it was super awkward for me. But there was a guy there that brought a brand new board game that he got off of a Kickstarter. So there's a video game called Northgard, and the people that make that made a board game called Northgard Expanded Lands or something like that. Anyway, um, it's like a deck builder, kind of like territory with a little bit of armies. It's a 4X game essentially. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed playing that. I lost because I never played it before, and I don't play those kind of games as much. But definitely looked really nice, and I had good pieces and stuff like that. So that was pretty fun. I never played Northgard, the video game, but somebody who was there said that it's a pretty good game too. So anyway, so that was pretty cool. Um, but the other thing that I've been playing, I talked last time about this game or program called Dungeon Alchemist. Um, and basically, what Dungeon Alchemist is, just real quick, it's a tabletop RPG map maker. So if you wanted to make a battle map, hang on, I got to cough real quick. Dang, and we're back. So it's a tabletop RPG map maker for battle maps and stuff. And the cool thing about it is that it's in 3 dimensions. So I wasn't really sure if I was gonna get it or stick with it whenever I was talking about it last time, but I played about an hour of it before I kind of decided I was definitely gonna keep it and not return it or anything. And in that hour, I was able to create kind of a practice map and do a couple things with it, and then I was able to jump over from that and make a battle map that I could actually use and that I would actually use for an upcoming D&D session. And so I kind of looked at after I finished that, got that pretty much done. I looked at the clock and I was like, "Dang, I did all that in like an hour." Um, so this is like, so I was like, "This is really fast." And then I spent several more hours, probably about 5 total, creating some more maps and adding like bigger maps, adding a lot of detail and stuff like that. And you can add the first maps I made were pretty simple, but you can do quite a bit and make some of these pretty complicated. Make some very large maps, but it's not a perfect program. It definitely the reviews that I read definitely um, have right criticism for what's kind of wrong with it. There's not like it's pretty much ready to be used as like a D&D battle map creator, but it could be better. And that's like its main function is like make battle maps. And like from a top down view, it's kind of hard to tell where doors are. Things kind of blend in. It's hard to tell, stairs. So they need to add some kind of shading or shadowing to make that more obvious. But like I've used this and I've used another program called Incarnate, which is pretty much roundly agreed to be like the best
Yeah, that
other.
seems to be the really popular one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Incarnate is great, but it takes more time. It's not horrible, but it definitely takes more time than this game. And it's more or than this program, and it's more complicated and like nitpicky. Um, I wasn't able to do as much in Incarnate in the same amount of time. But this Dungeon Alchemist, you can lay down the groundwork extremely fast, and then you can pick out your stuff and put it places extremely fast. It just like the first 80% of getting the battle map ready can be done in like 15 minutes, and even a pretty large one. Um, and then the rest of it, it's like okay, so I'm viable. I've got the map basically done, so I could put this out and have my players play it, and it wouldn't be horrible. But if I have time, then I can spend another hour and make it look pretty good. Um, and you can spend even more time and make it like look like a lot better. But I would say the ceiling is probably lower on Dungeon Alchemist. The last thing I'll say about Dungeon Alchemist is that even though you can make, I think probably a better map in something like Incarnate, it's more cartoony, but I think it's more detailed. It can be better. There's more assets, stuff like that. I do think that Dungeon Alchemist is the future because it's so fast. You can lay down the groundwork so quickly. They just are so new, and there's a lot of assets. They just need more. They just need like they need like 5 to 10 times more assets. And once they get to that point in 3 or 4 years, and if they allow people to start making assets, and putting them in there, then this thing is going to be freaking amazing with all kinds of colors and all kinds of stuff. It can be really amazing. There is still a lot of work to do with like the groundwork of making it a little bit more readable because it is in a 3D. It's not a cartoonish drawing. It's like a 3D like render. And if they can get that kind of more figured out, then it really is it really is the future, I think. And I'm glad I bought it because it's also pretty fun to just sit around and make a map and like make it like look like what you want it to be. It's like, dang, this is pretty cool. You can take pictures of it and stuff. But yeah, anyway, so I'm enjoying that, and I made a couple more things that I think I'm going to be able to show to my D&D group. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, that sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, it's for me. I just want to play D&D again, but it's so hard to get the groups back together since the pandemic, and then everyone's just some people moved away and stuff. So it's just like, all right, yeah, this ain't gonna happen anytime conveniently, especially with having kids now. So, but yeah, hearing you talk about it gets me excited to play again. Uh, so
Yeah, I mean, I
uh,
guess the other thing I could talk about is I have been playing around with Foundry VTT more, and I'm getting really close to being able to jump over from that. Um, we've been playing on Roll 20. Everybody gets sucked into Roll 20 because it's free, and it gets you in the door, but then they charge
yeah,
you
it
like
gets the job done. I mean, it is what it is, and it's
yeah
everyone needs an entryway.
yeah it definitely gets the job done. I don't think that I do think that like um, they charge too much for like when you do get a subscription because I for some reason I decided I needed a subscription. But when you do need a subscription, it's like a yearly, like $50 or something like that. I do think that's too much compared to what you can get from Foundry or Fantasy Grounds. Um, because like Foundry's like $50 like lifetime. You do have to pay $5 a month to have a server, and it's way more complicated to set up Foundry. But my goodness, Foundry is just a dream to use compared to Roll20. Like Roll20, I don't want to like my friends who DM and I'm in their games. Like they mess with some of that stuff more, but like the music is it fails all the time. There's the lighting, it sucks. It's just it's a big pain to use anything beyond like here's your map and here's your players. Um, so like I don't mess with it. But Foundry VTT I've been screwing around with a little bit more, and I'm getting really close. I'm very close to being able to launch with it on my campaign, and I'm excited for that.
All right, that's cool. So then the another thing we've been playing, or had you try it out,
Yeah,
and turns out you were not happy with it at all. Was DJ Max Respect 5. It's a music rhythm game. It's been out for a long time on the PlayStation platforms. Um, and I think it might have originally, first remember seeing it, I believe, on the PSP. I know it was on the Vita, but yeah, so this game I've always kind of been interested in. You see it on Steam and stuff like that, but I'm like, I'm just not gonna necessarily go commit to it. And it's on Game Pass, so I'm like, go ahead, man, give it a shot. It's co-op. We can play against each other, and we can give this, a good chance. And how was your experience with that?
dude, I just suck at rhythm games, man. I was never good at Rock Band or Guitar Hero. I didn't play them that much. I probably could have gotten pretty decent at Guitar Hero. Um, but this game is it has no like easy mode. It has no like, hey, you're here, you're gonna learn and teach you. It's just freaking hard from go. Even the slower songs with very few notes to hit, they're just. I feel like that zone that you can hit it, that you can hit the note in, is so narrow. You've got to hit it like just exactly, and then I don't know. I just had a really hard time even with some of the easier songs. I think the most I scored was like 23 or 29,000 points, which is nothing. Like that's like a corpse could score that much. So I played it for probably like 20 or 30 minutes, and I was like, I just suck at this. This is not fun for me. But you definitely seem to get it quite a bit more, and were able to have quite a bit more fun with it than I was.
Yeah, so the game plays essentially like the old Beatmania or keyboard mania games, uh, something along those lines. Or if anyone's ever played on their mobile devices, piano tiles, it's very similar to that. So at the minimum, you have 4 lanes, and notes drop from each of those lanes.
Mm,
I preferred to play it on the keyboard, and that made it really easy for me.
I did
Uh,
too.
and it has this particular version of the game has like three different versions in there, all mixed up. Has like two of the portable games and just one of the other solid base games. They have quite a few play modes. They have a mission mode where that makes you like complete certain songs under certain objectives. You need a combo of this high, or you can't get this many breaks, which is their like misses essentially. Uh, you know, if you complete those objectives, then you move on to the next one. They have a freestyle mode, which has a lot of songs locked. But then as you're completing each song, you're able to unlock new music. It doesn't quite tell you what the criteria is to unlock new music. So that was the only part I was disappointed in because like, oh, this song, I really want to play it, but I don't exactly know what I'm supposed to do to unlock it. Do I need to play a certain song and get a ranking on it, or do I need to do, it's like it doesn't really have any objectives to how things are unlocked, or at least I didn't find it. And But yeah, this is a Korean ass game.
Yeah.
They have a lot of different Korean songs all throughout. But what makes this game kind of fun and unique, in a lot, like I said, if no one's ever played a Beat Mania game, they have animated backgrounds. So opposed to like a music video background. So instead of having like a Guitar Hero where you're playing and you're seeing your avatar performing in front of a fake crowd. You're actually getting to see whatever music video they have set foot. So some of them look like they were, like maybe a mobile game, anime intro. Other ones seemed like just little cute shorts. Short skits or something like that. But then they also had like full on real music. They had like Marshmello and like the actual like music video to Alone. They had the couple songs from Guilty Gear Xrd. So that was like the collaboration they did there. And I think they had at least one other video game franchise, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But I was surprised to see it there. I was like, oh wow, that was totally out of left field, in my opinion. And then it was fun to play. I don't know, it's very much of those type of things, and you can go, I think, up to 6 keys or something like that, to use, so you can really make the difficulty, up for yourself. Uh, oh, I played a good solid, like, 5 hours,
Yeah.
within the last couple weeks. It's fun, it's a little, I like it because it's like, well, I literally only have a breath of a moment. I'll go ahead and give at least 1 song or 2 songs a shot, and then I'm like, "Okay, I'll move on to something else," or I have to do something, or, you know, I did try playing this in the most worst situation ever, and that is, in order to play it on the, streaming service onto your phone, for yeah. So to stream it to your phone, even though Microsoft still has it as under beta, you have to actually use a controller.
Hmm.
So then I hooked it. So I'm using a wireless PS4 controller to my phone that's streaming off, trying to do off the Wi-Fi network, and that lag was pretty rough, man. It was brutal. Not only was
Yeah,
just the
that
actual
sounds fucking unplayable because this game gives you like 0.03 seconds to hit that note at the exact right time. So
uh
I don't know.
the game is forgiving in the fact that it doesn't straight up fail you. You don't have like a health bar,
No.
but you will score really badly.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, when the game wasn't stuttering because of the bad connection, like I have solid internet and it wasn't being really used up by anything. So that's just the server side,
Mhm.
getting to my phone. That was the delay in there. Uh, you know, that would stutter sometimes. So you're in the middle of a flow, and also just stops for just, like not even maybe a half second. And so all of a sudden you're like, "Ugh," and then it kicks back in again. You're like, oh shit. Um, then also with playing on the controller, it's just like, okay, the visual and the sound note isn't quite matching up, and then you're hitting it. So essentially, I just played off the audio cues. So like as the notes coming down, I know I have to hit it on this beat. So I'm matching the beats. I'm like, okay, I seem to be doing pretty good. Then every now and then, everything seems to be going exactly right. But then all of a sudden, it just be like break, break, and I'm like, wait, somehow I missed it, but I'm pretty sure I was spot on with at least everything else up until that point was fine. There was no hiccups that I could see, and yet somehow I missed it.
Mm.
So, yeah, I tried that for a little bit just to experiment because I'm like, it'd be nice if it did work, but unfortunately it doesn't. So, do not play that game that way.
Yeah, that
Uh,
sounds like it would be a nightmare to try to play it that way. But
yeah,
at least you found out.
yeah, for sure. And then playing in the same manner, I tried out the new Escape Academy. So,
Yeah, what is this
Escape
about?
Okay, so Escape Academy is an adventure game, a sense of, it's literally your if you ever played the game The Room or any of those, it's like
I've heard of it.
locked room situations where you're in a situation where you have to look around for clues, pick up items, solve the puzzle, and get out of the room. That's all there is to it. Um, and in this sense, you go to one of those, uh strip center, situations where like, yeah, I would like to do one of your escape rooms, and you go ahead and do it, and you get out, and you're like, okay, and then the person at the front desk is missing, and so it leaves you with a slight mystery, like what's going on.
Uh,
Um, turns out you're essentially past the test to get into Hogwarts. Um, you get taken to the, Escape Academy, and you are then in a elite school for trying to solve puzzles, and I almost completed the second puzzle, and I failed out with, like, a minute. Like, I think if I had an extra, like, 30 seconds, I would've been able to input the last information in and made it to the exit. Unfortunately, it is pretty much a hot mess when you're trying to use the controller, on a phone,
Mm,
'cause this game is, I think it's made for a mouse because you need that quick response and you need that precision.
right.
Uh, Due to the lag and the slushiness of using a thumbstick, I'm not able to get exactly where I want it, so I'm like, "Oh, I thought I clicked on this," and then when I looked everywhere else and I came back to this set of 4 bookshelves, and like, "Oh, I actually could click on this one specific spot in this bookshelf in the middle." I'm like, "I didn't know that." Until like, so I wasted a bunch of time. Um, but the game does some neat things. It does have, because each, room is just like a real, escape room, is timed.
Yeah.
So you have that, it's not just searching for clues or puzzles, but you're also under the gun. Uh, but it has a co-op feature, which I'm actually really curious about. So, like most escape rooms, you can go in with multiple people. So I'm kinda curious how many people it's up to, but even if it's just 2 players, I think it'd be really interesting to see how long, if they change the times, or if they, like, if you and a buddy would just be able to knock it out that much quicker. Um, because I've done a couple escape rooms with my wife, and we've been able to, uh, like, half-hour escape rooms, and we've crushed them in, like, 10 minutes. You know, but we kind of know what to look for, and so we're just, as we're looking, we divide and conquer, and we're calling out, "This is what I found, this is what okay, this is related to that," so if you're able to play 2 players on this, I think it'd be really interesting. But it's kinda set up literally as a, you have a dorm, and that's your main, like, save room, and you go around campus, and that's kind of the concept. It looks like they have future episodes or things for purchase,
Mhm.
so I'm not sure how much this initial game, how much of it is actually available, 'cause I haven't, like I said, I failed at my 2nd mission. um so yeah, I'm kind of curious to go back into it, but I need to play it on the actual computer, not just off of my cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sounds kinda interesting. I like that kinda thing, those puzzles, but I never end up playing those kinda games. But it's pretty fun, even in the subpar way that you played it.
Yeah, I actually thought it was a neat way to gimmick it. It's done in the art style of that's kind of really popular of late for, kind of American visual novels. Um, Something reminiscent of, like, what was that? Monster High School, that visual novel, or along the lines of kinda like a Hades, or even like a Dream Daddy, something like
Mm,
that. Like, it's that, not quite cell shaded, but it's a very distinct American art style. Um,
interesting.
so they have the character models kinda looking like that. The NPCs you come across, they'll have a few lines of dialogue, but it's more like, it's all the text is just, you have to read it yourself, and that's one of the things is, you'll come across when you're in the puzzles, just like a real escape room, you'll have to pick up the note, and then you'll have to read it, and it's still counting down, so you're like, "Alright." So it kind of, controls have to be really clutch and, like, really smooth, and that's unfortunately the way I played it was not. So, but if you have a mouse and keyboard, I think you can knock it out pretty good. I think it's doing something clever, I guess, is what it is, because, trying to make a legit reason to have, all these puzzles back and forth, and to making it a school setting. I'm like, all right, that works. The art style seems all right, and it just seems fun. It's one of those games that I'm not sure right now, but I think overall, if I were to continue playing this, my guess is it'd be all right. And I think if whenever they get around to making a sequel, if they make a sequel, then I think that'd be good.
Mm,
There just seems to be enough rough edges right now, but once again, it looked like you can purchase extra. I'm not sure if they're actual extra episodes, or how what the model is, but there was a purchase for other things function.
Mhm.
So I'm not, like, I'm not sure if it's coming out as episodic content or if it's just like special DLC packs.
Right.
So yeah, that part I'm not 100% on. But I am curious to continue it. And it was a chill, despite being timed, I found it to be kind of a chill game because it was fun to work that, those mental gymnastics there just to figure out the puzzles and how they want to do it. And it was pretty clever. So
Yeah, it sounds like they
yeah,
just
that's it
need.
for me, though.
Yeah, it sounds like they just need a little bit more. Well, it sounds like they need to just polish it up for another um another game like that.
Yeah, like, it could get better as things progress, just unfortunately just in a little bit in the beginning, but I did enjoy my time with it. It wasn't, I wasn't upset or anything like that. I was just, a little frustrated with the controls, that's all.
Yeah,
Um, but the puzzles were fun enough, and, but unfortunately, once you solve the puzzle, then these things are, the answer forever. So it's kinda like you can't, like, if I tried playing the first mission with you again, I'm like, I can do it in 5, 6 seconds
yeah.
because you
So
literally know how to do it.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
so
so
it's kind of burned that
alright.
way.
Yeah, but that's just like a mystery novel, right? You go through the novel and then you know who the killer is, and alright.
Cool.
You don't really need to go through that again.
Yeah,
So, alright. Outside of that, now I guess we're gonna get to what we've been watching, but before that, do you wanna take a break, or how you doing?
I'm doing good. Ready to power through.
Alright. Alright then, yeah, so what has been on your docket for what you've been watching?
So I haven't watched too much, but I did watch series that comes out I think pretty much every year now. Called Love, Death, and Robots. It's a Netflix animated anthology series. Um, and it's mostly CG animation, CG 3D animation. Some of it is like CG 2D animation. I think it's always the same studios because noticing that the art styles are kind of uh, they're each episode is made by a different studio. Um, and the art style between the studios is different. So every episode is different. But over the years, I have noticed that okay, this style was used last year in one of the episodes, and this style was used last year in one of the episodes, and so on and so forth. But this is the third season of it coming out, um, and it's pretty good. It's all of these are like I think the longest one's like 20 minutes, and most of them are somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. So they're super short and sweet. Um, just a little simple idea that the studio that's making it has decided to pursue. And I'd say this season's about as good as maybe about as good as last season. I think season two is probably a little bit better overall, but it's just it's really cool because it is very digestible, simple ideas, kind of like the Outer Limits used to be. Um, I don't know, like that they just don't that there's no wasted time. It's like here's the character, here's the problem, here's why it's cool. Okay, it's done, and you're done with it. So even the ones that I don't really like as much, they're so short that it's over before I've figured out that I don't like it. And I don't think there's any that I really didn't like at all. There's some that I'm like, okay, this is fine, but they're definitely weird. Have you ever seen or seen any previews for this show or trailers?
I didn't realize the season 3 was out, because I know there was a couple years between season 1 and 2.
I think
Uh
so. Yeah, I think there was a little bit more time.
so yeah, it's just I didn't realize they came out with a 3rd season, so that's actually interesting. It's news to me. And, no, it's a fun little, uh they're like little, like you mentioned, little episodes that kind of dispersed around, and I thought it was really interesting and fascinating when I first watched it. It reminded me of, um like weird anime back in the day, like Robot Carnival, or even like, the Animatrix. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
like you have these stories and art styles, and they're split up into little bits, and that's what drew me to it originally too, because
the
it's fun. I mean, you have a little bit of everything. I remember, I know, was it, like, David Fincher was tied to this in some way or something like that, and,
Mm.
I couldn't remember, like, I remember his name being tied to it a long time ago and being like, "Alright, that's cool. I like his movies and stuff like that," if you he does, he did stuff like Aliens 3 was one of
Mm.
his, that a lot of people, or like
It was like one of
7
his
and stuff
first
like that.
directed movies. I think was Aliens 3. Alien 3.
Uh, yeah, and then, but yeah, 7,
Seven's
like that
great.
one is, of course, Fight Club, that comes up a lot, or, it's just he has a very unique style, and so I'm
Yeah.
like, just so to hear him being tied to him, like, "Oh, alright, that's cool," and yeah, but I hadn't finished, 2 season, or like, I remember watching a little bit of it, and so, like I said, I was gonna get around to it eventually, but I didn't. Like I said, now they have a, season 3, so I gotta clear my way into watching a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably cut through this in probably about an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah,
Because
for sure, like, yeah,
there's only
it's
like there's
essentially,
9
it's a bunch of
episodes.
episodes, yeah, but like you mentioned, like, 15 minutes tops, for these.
Yeah, they're mostly pretty short. The first episode's sort of whatever. I think the second episode is one set on a boat in like the 18 or 1700s, and that one there's a couple, but I think that one might be my favorite. Whenever you get to it, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's I think you're likening it to the Animatrix is probably the most apt uh, description that I could get across to somebody quickly, because it is pretty much just like that. The Animatrix was all obviously in the Matrix world, and this is spread out to there's no rules, I guess, as to what kind of world that you're going to pop into. But as far as styles and stories that are being told, it is spread out, and yeah,
The other one I would recommend, let people know or reference is, the Clone Wars, the original animated, uh, you know,
Star Wars.
uh, yeah, Star Wars Clone Wars, but the original animated one that came out like years ago before the CG, because there's a separate one from the CG series.
Uh,
And they did the same thing. It was all a bunch of miniature, things going on during the Clone Wars, but it was animated differently in each one, and,
yeah,
like, they have, Mace Windu just taking on, like, an entire field of drones and a giant machine, like, it's just him just solely just wreaking havoc and just taking nuts and bolts, and you just flinging them at, other robots. It was really, really cool, and that was done in a certain, like, cell shaded aspect, but then, they changed it up each one. They did some stuff about, like, Grievous and stuff like that, but that was, I remember that being kinda similar as short stories, and different things, so but yeah, like, this one's just a little bit of everywhere, no real cohesion, but
yeah,
it's just fun to watch.
yeah. So it's good, and I really enjoyed that. But yeah, it's pretty much the most interesting thing I've had a chance to finish up.
Nice, alright. Um, yeah, so the anime season, for at least for the dub stuff, has just ended, so a lot of stuff just like, just ended, within this last week. Um, so I'm just gonna quick mention a few of the ones that I mentioned before, and I finally got, since I finished it, I'll kind of give my real quick opinion on it. And so, like, there's a Skeleton Knight in Another World. That one was entertaining all the way through. Uh, Lighthearted. Uh, Main character is, it's like, all I'd say it's a solid B series. I mean, it's not like shaking or anything like that. It's not going to change your life, but it was a good time. I enjoyed watching it. And, as far as isekais go and stuff like that, I'm like, "You know what? This ain't bad." Um,
I heard it was
there
pretty good.
was Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I just heard that. I think I just saw a review or something saying, "Yeah, it's pretty good."
Yeah, I mean, I did not feel like I wasted my time.
Yeah.
Uh, actually, today I just finished, the there's 1 episode left. I'm sorry, there's 1 episode left of the Kaguya-sama. Love is War, and so that one has been probably one of my favorites this season. You know, so I'm looking forward to seeing the final episode next week. But it's already done subbed wise, and there was Tsukimichi, which that one was another isekai where a guy essentially he gets he forms a pact with a dragon and a spider
Mm.
monster, and
Oh
he
yeah.
forms his own like colony. That one is kind of all over the place. There's like I feel like there's a lot missing. I know the manga series is really like long, and but there was a certain point like in the latter, towards the latter third of the series, where he he makes a mental shift, and I'm like, "Okay, I like where he's turning." Like,
Mm.
it went from just like, "Okay," to like, "Alright." He's now it got kind of more action oriented, and it had some good scenes, uh, and it's one of those like, "Alright." When they ended, it just said, "Arigato gozaimasu." Like, it just like it didn't say, like, "To be continued" or "See you next time" or something like that. I'm like, so I'm kinda curious if they're actually gonna make a season 2. Uh, they totally could, and I would be up for that one. Yeah, it was once again, just like Skeleton Knight, it was solid. It was just like, it was worth your time, but not necessarily, I wouldn't rush out to recommend it, like, but Kaguya-sama, totally. Start with if you haven't seen that one, start with
I
that one from
know.
season 1.
That's my yeah. That's one I definitely want to get to. Is I know I keep saying that, but I think I'll I'll go ahead and promise to make that my next one. I'll go ahead and jump into that this week.
Yeah, Love After World Domination. I enjoyed that one all the way through. I'd recommend that one hands down. Uh, I laughed a lot, and it was good. It was a fun watch. Uh, and then I would say Spy Family. You know what? It was all right the entire way through. Unfortunately, the last episode kind of fell flat for me. I mean, it's cute moments, but it's just like, wait, was that really the end of the season? I was just like taken aback.
Yeah, I
So
actually haven't had a chance to finish it. I think I am somewhere in the middle of like episode 12 that I started to watch and then stopped for some reason. Because there's like 13 is the whole season I think. But yeah, I need to go ahead and smash the rest of that. It's okay. It's funny and kind of silly. Um, but I don't know why it's kind of considered to be like the best of the season. Is just sort of it's good, but it's not amazing to me.
yeah, I think it's more marketing than anything.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, trapped in the dating sim. That one was probably my favorite of the season, hands down. The main character is such a jerk, and it's great. Uh, he he's trapped in an otome game, and he's just a background character, or at least he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. I that was probably my favorite of this season. There was uh, Aharon. That one was kind of like a Comey Can't Communicate kind of series,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that one was also enjoyable. That was pretty fun. But yeah, those are like the dubbed ones I ended up watching that had come out that are, I guess, more of note. But the subs coming out, I'm pretty excited about a few of them because I'm hoping that the new Overlord is out, and the animation changed a little bit, which kind of bothers me a little bit. Like, it's just different enough. I'll probably get over it, but it's just I'm curious to see how it goes because I like Overlord. I recommend if you want to see an isekai that's entertaining. I think season one was pretty solid, and then if you want to go from there, then continue. Um,
Yeah. That's
because
one
this is season 4.
that I kind of did catch my eye. I was thinking about maybe trying to go through the manga. There's only about 80 chapters, I think, of the manga. So I was thinking about maybe doing that. But yeah, I've heard it's good. Is there anything? Is it just kind of like entertaining, or is there anything kind of weird or special about it?
All right, without getting into spoiler territories, season 1
You could just
was
say
entertaining.
yes.
It was solid.
Yeah.
Season 2 took a really big shift,
Okay.
and so it was really weird to see how season 2 played. Uh, and so it was interesting to say the least. And it's like we're like, wow, that's a bold choice of how they played season two. Then season three kind of goes in a different back to a different like a different direction, and so they changed it up quite a bit. I think season like it's funny because it's been so far removed since season 3 to 4 that we kinda had to be like, "Wait, what the heck happened?" We really should have probably watched the last episode of season 3 again as a refresher.
Yeah, sometimes
Um,
you need that.
yeah. So, I think that was one of the yeah, so, uh, honestly, I still like Overlord, so I'm willing to give it a shot. Uh, they just came out with, The Devil's a Part-Timer, season 2.
Oh, okay.
And I really like season 1. Season 1 was super solid. Season 2, they also changed the animation in this one. The characters are a little well, it's been years, so it makes sense, but the characters look a little softer, the main like, a little younger, I guess, and that kind of bothers the crap out of me too. Uh,
Mm,
just enough tweaking that's just like, I know you're different. I mean, they do that with a lot of anime all the time, so it's not but it's just one of those things that's like it just gets under my skin a little bit. So, so far seems all right. I'm enjoying it. Uh, there's Shadow House season 2. That's coming out now,
mhm,
and I'm excited about it because season 1 was pretty good. Uh, I'll recommend that. I think it's going to be a safe bet, but we'll see. But then other things are getting season 2 that should not like Rent a Girlfriend. Season 1, I fucking hate watched season 1.
mm.
I I'm like, "This is bad. Does it get any better?" And I forced myself to watch. I'm like, "This is garbage. This is complete garbage." And yeah, so
I think it's
I
I think it's probably a pretty popular series.
oh,
Um,
hands down. It has cute girls in it, so of course it's gonna be popular.
yeah,
I'm like I'm like, "Oh, I hate you so much." So it angers me that I got a 2nd season.
that's the
Uh,
world we live in, man. It's just the world we
yeah.
live in.
And then there's a bunch of the old some manga that I like, that have been coming out, like, there's Harem Labyrinth in Another World,
Mm,
which, it's, like essentially, it was a manga it's essentially softcore porn disguised as manga, um, and it's in the words of Pablo Francisco, the comedian, they call it soft because it doesn't get you hard, uh, but
oh, that's funny.
But no, it's a cheap excuse, and, like, it was just funny because the series, the last I knew, only had, like, 2 female, like, uh it's an adventuring world with magic, and you own slaves. So as you're slowly becoming the slave expert, through all your other anime watching now, Nick,
Mm,
um, it's okay to have a harem if they're slaves. But like I watched the opening episode, and they showed like a bunch more characters. I'm like, wait, what? Like none of these characters are in the manga. Like, but it's probably a light novel is my guess, and so they've gotten all this inspiration from the light novel because that's how a
mm.
lot of things roll. They're a light novel first, then they get manga, then they get anime. So that's just my guess. Um, but it's just stupid. I was like, okay. Um, the Classroom of the Elites, season 2 is out, and season 1 was okay. It wasn't nothing terribly exciting, but if you like anything remotely like uh was it Squid Game, but not that to that extreme, but things adjacent to Squid Game, like when you got a group of people having to overcome challenges and obstacles. That's kind of what this is. It was, like I said, it was passable, but I'm like, oh wow, you got season two. That kind of sucks. I wish someone else got a season two instead. Like, there's plenty of better things out there. Um, there's the Parallel World Pharmacy. I've actually been reading this manga for years. So I can probably guess right now where the season's going to end.
Mm,
Um, it's okay. I mean, it's interesting. It's the idea of a guy who's a doctor gets reincarnated into, isekai, into a new world as a child, and he has his medical knowledge from our world, but he's in a kind of a medieval times uh, setting, or like an early uh, I don't know, like colonial period, but they have magic for healing. So their pharmaceuticals are way different, and it's like it's an interesting take on it. So he invents things like the microscope, and he's like he gets involved in that kind of stuff. Like that was an interesting take on that. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Uh, but
Okay.
yeah, those yeah, that was like those are the big ones. Oh, the other one was Black Summoner. Um, it's another isekai, but dude gets OP skills, and it's the manga's really fun. I like the manga. I like the way it's drawn. It's drawn in a very kind of not so great, like, not very detailed design. It's almost like a poorer quality, but because of that, he has a very distinct look, and he's very, like, lanky, and he turns out to be this giant battle junkie where he just loves combat, so he's always challenging up, like, new foes,
Mm.
and it's a fun read. They've also softened his look to make him look more pretty for the anime.
Yeah.
Um,
They
I
love to
mean,
do
the
that.
manga actually has changed a lot too. From manga, like I showed my wife the first like volume. Like, here's how he looks here, and here's how he looks in chapter 90. And he looks more detailed, but he also looks more manic because he has a very much like a crazy eye, like as he's
Oh,
fighting.
sort of like a
Um,
berserker kind of thing.
yeah, something like that, and it's just, but he like they make him very much an anime, like, prettier character, like, for the posters and stuff. I'm like, "I don't like you."
Yeah, I
So
mean, yeah, for manga, it's one guy drawing it or whatever, or maybe just a few people, so they can take more risks because it's like, well, this is what we want to make, but for an anime studio, it's like we got to feed like 50 people or 100 people at this studio, so this thing has to sell. And pretty boy
you have to get more
faces,
mainstream appeal for
yeah,
sure, yeah.
yeah.
So, that's it. I mean, as I like the manga a lot, so I'll probably give it a watch, but, um yeah, that's kind of the gist of them. I'm like, "Alright, there's
Uh,
a lot of cool potential out there." Um, there's some hot trash, I think, but, it'll be an entertaining new season. I'm curious what's all gonna get dubbed, because, like, right now, uh, chances are, the new Rent-A-Girlfriend is probably gonna get dubbed because anything like, uh, that one season 1 was, so I'm assuming season 2 is going to. I'm assuming that the same with the Elite Classroom one. Uh, I'm hoping some of the isekai ones are probably gonna get dubbed as well, so
mhm.
because isekai is a hot topic. Um,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really have kind of slowed it down. I've been kind of more interested in working on my D&D stuff. If you haven't been able to tell, so I haven't really been able to watch as much anime, but I'm gonna start back up here probably pretty soon, along with the manga as well. Um, but yeah, I don't know. This season I was kind of like, eh. There's a lot that I was just kind of like, well, I guess I kind of just picked some of the wrong ones, maybe to get into, but I'm hoping this next season I can catch up with some of the better stuff that you've been telling me about from this season, and then also maybe get into whatever's good in the. I guess it's the summer season we're going into.
yeah, so, I mean, I know I'm pretty confident Shadow House will get dubbed, and same with, Overlord, because like I said, they've done 3 seasons of dub for Overlord, so
Yeah,
there's undoubtedly there's someone, if it's not the same studio, someone will pick it up to dub it.
yeah.
So I mean that'll be my interesting ones for sure. But yeah, so until then, like only 1 or 2 episodes of the subs for a lot of these ones are out yet. So I can't even quite give them the 3-episode judgment. But by the
Mm,
next time we meet, it'll at least be 4 episodes out. So I just wanted to get my initial impressions and some of the stuff I am excited about. So I know that we'll see how that plans out in the end.
yeah, yeah, man. Looking forward to it.
All
Um,
right. Well, if that's it, do you got anything else you want to plug or drop at the end here?
no, not really. Um, no, there's not too much coming out as far as like stuff I'm super excited about. I guess maybe that's why I'm getting more back into D&D because it's there's the games. There's a couple games that I am excited to play. Xeno Blade Chronicles at the end of the month, but it was really going to be more of an August game. I'm probably not going to be able to talk about it until the end of August, if that, because it's like a 50-hour game. But so until then, there's not a whole lot that I'm really excited about in games, and then shows just kind of just have to see how it goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me for now.
All right. Well, thank you all for those who stuck around to the end, and we appreciate it. Once again, this is another Dead Pixel, and we are happy to have you, and hopefully see you again next time. Y'all
Yep.
take care.
All right, guys. See you around.